Hello everybody, welcome to Survival Russia. So yeah, we made it to camp. We're at the camp today to make the shelter, the Frontiers Camp shelter. And for the Frontiers Camp shelter, I do not want to go into making something traditional Russian frontiers stuff, because that is most of the time just a log cabin, and I live in log cabins or log houses, so why make another one out here? Also, I cannot really cut down all the trees that I need to make a log cabin, so yeah, that will not be too great. But since we have this campsite here running, I want to use the opportunity, or spend the opportunity, on making what I think is a real survival shelter. So this is so this segment here of shelter building at the Frontiers Camp is gonna be about the reality of survival on debris shelters or real survival shelters, whatnot. Alright guys, so fast cup of tea before we start on the shelter frame over there. So in my opinion, a survival shelter's primary function should be to keep water out. Not necessarily only rain, but water, because also for snow shelters it is not awesome. You heat up the shelter and it starts dripping. That's what I wanted to say. So as far as debris shelters go, I can only think of one debris shelter that really made sense to me that I've seen on YouTube, and that is a shelter that Lonnie made. Lonnie from Far North Bushcraft and Survival. I remember, this is a long time ago, but I remember he made a shelter when he was out. He made just a, you can say, an A-frame shelter, completely enclosed, not that big, but he made it out of grass because he was only wearing a wool shirt or something like this, and yeah, he made this shelter, and it sort of like kept him a little bit out of the elements. If it had started to rain there, that shelter would of course not have been that great. This is not a critique of Lonnie, because what the theme he was working within, or the framework he was working within, the shelter made sense. So the shelter we're gonna make for the Frontiers Camp here is the Arctic Forest Shelter version 2.0. It's of course a little bit funky to call it Arctic Forest shelter, because in the Arctic there are no forests, right? But this forest here, or this area, we surely can experience Arctic conditions, and that's why I called the shelter the Arctic Forest Shelter. But we're gonna make it a little bit different this time. So the Arctic Forest Shelter was a half pipe, you can say, and it had a plastic sheet on top and just debris on the sides. The plastic membrane was there, of course, so when I was heating up the shelter, it will not start to drip with having all this snow on top of the shelter, of course. That we will not do this time. We will do something completely different. I might fill you in on this a little bit later today. Alright guys, so we're gonna make the shelter right behind me here. And we're gonna use some tools. We're gonna use an axe here, my Tiger axe, which is completely awesome. We're gonna use the Silky Ultra Accel 240 straight blade, and for tying up the shelter frame we're gonna use steel wire. Why steel wire? It's because it's part of my kit, and I want to see how it performs during the winter and so on over the next few months. So this is why we're gonna use steel wire for this. I could of course use birch bark to tie the frame together with. So I could use ordinary cordage, I could use spruce roots and stuff like that. But have you ever tried to use spruce roots? I have. It is a big work, and you better have a good digging tool for that. So yeah, you can also say survival situation, we have tools. In a survival situation we should have tools, in my opinion. I mean, in a survival situation, or what you can say, emergency, extended stay, everything comes down to tools. How well prepared am I? The less prepared I am, the longer everything is gonna take. And making a waterproof shelter, that is a task in itself. That is time consuming. So for our shelter frame we have these saplings. They are poplar. We have the beautiful tripod over there, but we're gonna make the shelter in there. So down here we have a measuring device. That's gonna be the width of the shelter. Over there we have a stake that I'm gonna pound into the ground. And I'm a bit sorry if it's very dark, but yeah, it's a dark day. So this is gonna be half of the first arch. I prepared some cordage here with a self-tightening knot. And that I have attached to the thin end here. So I fixed this sapling down there, and then I'll of course pull the other one over here, somewhere like this. Basically, I will now lash this end and that end over there with a bit of steel wire, and then I'll make some more arches. Steel wire is super awesome because you don't need a lot of it to hold things together. That is definitely a big plus, which also makes it what you can say, plausible or valid to carry. Just a few wrappings and spin it around. I simply had to turn on the video light here. So you can see we have the shelter over there. We have 3 arches. We have a spine as well. This is crazy. It got dark so fast. Anyway, here we have the shelter frame. Yeah, it got dark a little bit faster than expected. There's also really heavy cloud cover and blah 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 blah. One thing that we can take away, or I can take away from this little experience here, is steel wire. I mean, I have steel wire in my kit, but I never used it for shelter building and tra-la-la-la-la. And I actually happen to have made a shelter frame like this before. And I can say, steel wire is just super awesome to make shelters with, because it is really fast. That is actually a little bit interesting with this steel wire there. I think I'm gonna start to carry a lot more steel wire and a lot less ordinary cordage. You still have to know your lashings and so on. We can look at that next time, because we're gonna go here very soon, and we're gonna finish the shelter. It's gonna be an awesome shelter. So guys, please check the links in the description, and please consider supporting the channel. Share, subscribe, bell, like, and all that good stuff. Until next time, get out and train. get it done, do something awesome, and see you in the next video, guys. I'm sorry it gotten that dark, but yeah, that's just how it is.